Hello and welcome to Film Seizure. My name is Chuck Moore. I am joined, as always, by my two cohorts. Jeff Arbuckle, say hi to Jason.
Hey, Jason, what's going on, Jason?
Hey, how are you? Yeah,
Doing all
Yeah,
right.
and then
Fancy
that's
meeting you
Jason Oliver as well. We discussed this briefly. We put some movies in a hat that we all kind of wanted to do and picked them out. And one of the ones that I threw in there was the 1997 black comedy Grosse Pointe Blank, starring John Cusack, Minnie Driver, supported by Dan Aykroyd, Alan Arkin. And I have always just loved this movie, unabashedly. Just one of those movies I just love. I don't even know if I'll be able to tell you why on this podcast. I'll try, but that's it. It's a film directed by George Armitage. Gentleman Armitage, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was actually, we brought up Roger Corman last week. George worked with Roger Corman a lot, apparently.
Nice.
I didn't have the time to go look up what he worked on with him on, but I guess a lot of people worked with Roger Corman, right? That's goes without saying.
Yes.
But yeah, this is, again, I can't remember if I saw this in the theater or video store. More likely I rented this and watched it. What about you guys? Jeff, what is your Grosse Pointe Blank relationship?
I definitely rented it. It was one that we probably got the screener for because this was Hollywood Pictures, which all of the Disney movies or all the Disney companies, we always got the screener sent directly to us. We didn't have to get them from the distributor. They were sent to us and we kept them. This was, and in fact, I probably ended up keeping this one. So yeah, it was definitely one that I watched probably a month or two before it was released on VHS. I remember liking it. I also remember one other thing. I hated the poster in the box for this movie. It's such it is such a Miramax Hollywood Pictures Touchstone box that it's like if I didn't have any inclination about what this was, that box would not have made me want to rent it. And probably if I saw the poster at a movie theater, I probably didn't want to go see it because it's like, what is this? This looks terrible. It's oddly both a picture of John Cusack and Minnie Driver, but also a photoshopped one. And it looks awful. It just looks awful. Now, I will also say that poster today, if I saw that and I didn't know anything about this movie, I would say I bet that trailer had Semi-Charmed Kind of Life as the music for it.
Yeah, that's funny. That is horribly wrong, though.
No, it is. Yeah, the music in this is fantastic.
Really good.
But it would have been a movie that's like I could see the beats to that song playing throughout the trailer because that was another Miramax thing. That song got used a lot in trailers, probably from Miramax.
Yeah, at that time in history, Cusack would have been enough to sell me on watching this movie.
Oh, sure,
I think,
sure.
Regardless, but what about you, Jason? Do you remember if you saw this back in the day? Video store?
Definitely saw it back in the day. I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theater, but I can't remember exactly. If I didn't, I saw it when it hit video, but I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theater.
Noise.
I think I probably saw it with your brother, actually.
Makes sense.
Because we met around that time, and we went to a shit ton of movies. So pretty sure I saw it in the theater, and yeah, I liked it immediately. I've always liked this movie. Hadn't seen it in a while, but yeah, good stuff. Fun movie.
Yeah, this is one I think I revisit a lot. Like, a lot to me is like once a year. If you know me, I don't really watch movies a lot. Or over and over again. I've kind of changed over the last few years, but Grosse Pointe Blank has never really left my rotation at all. And it's got one of those interesting stories, right? We have a professional assassin, Martin Blank, who is being invited back to his 10-year reunion. That's really what this movie is about, right? He's a killer. He disappeared many years ago from his hometown. He has a rival in Dan Aykroyd, who's another professional killer. His name is Grosser, which is kind of confusing that his name is Grosser. It's Grosse Pointe Blank. We have Martin Blank, who's also just words being reused in this movie a lot, weirdly. But I don't know what to say more about the production of this movie. I don't really get into that stuff as much as you guys do. But yeah, we start with Martin Blank. He is talking to his sister, who plays his
assistant,
his
or something.
secretary.
Yeah, secretary, assistant.
Yeah, and he's got on the location of a kill that he needs to make. She's talking to him about his reunion. He isn't interested in it, and I kind of really love this opening scene because there are 3 assassinations going on at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Right. We have a biker coming down, and we don't know exactly who he's killing here, but it's obviously a guy who has armed guards around him. So he's some kind of something, right?
Yeah. He's some kind of important guy,
Yeah. Probably a bad guy.
Sure.
But Martin Blank is there to kill the assassin.
Right.
Which is the dude biking down the road, and he's talking to her and looking through the windows. He goes from one window to another. He shoots the biker in the chest, to which all of the guards around the other guy respond and just blow the hell out of him. He gets knocked over a car. But while this is happening, Grosser, Dan Aykroyd, is playing like concierge bellhop or something, comes out and just destroys everybody with his 2 handguns. And I love his 2 handgun routine in this movie. He never reloads his guns. He just shoots until they're empty and he throws them. So he has an unlimited supply of guns, this guy.
Yeah, and he also seems to really enjoy. He's always like he's giddy to.
Oh yeah, he's smiling all crazy.
Yeah.
The scene kind of reminds me. At first, I was like, "Wait a minute, is he taking credit for the kill?" Because that's like the thing in The Big Hit. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, where Lou Diamond Phillips steals Mark Wahlberg's kills by shooting the body after he does. But then I was like, "Oh, he's there to kill the guys that Cusack is there to kill the guy who's trying to kill." Right. So
right.
So yeah, basically everybody ends up dead except for the 2 hitmen. Yes.
And they obviously both know each other in town, right? But Grosser calls Cusack, or calls Martin Blank. It's Martin Blank, right?
Martin Blank.
Yeah, Martin Q. Blank. Yeah. He calls them, and they're both trying to lie to each other, saying they're out of town. And as he's driving up, so it's kind of a funny scene. They're like, "Oh yeah, let's do this face to face sometime. Yeah, that'd be great." And we get the idea of what Grosser is trying to set up. He calls it a concern, right? But it's an assassins union where he wants kind of all the assassins to be on a team and not have these kind of situations, right? Where they're not on the same hit. So I don't know who paid who what here, but they both have different, right? They're both doing different hits. But Martin Blank wants none of that. He's like, it's a lone gunman job. Like, there's no way I'm joining your union.
I do want to say one thing real quick about that beginning. The very first thing we see is John Cusack putting in contacts in the most awkward way possible.
Was he putting in contacts? I thought he was just cleaning his eye for the scope.
No, he was putting in contacts. I know people used to do that, but it's such a waste of solution.
it's like a whole cap full of solution. He just pours it onto his eye, right?
Right. Yeah. But I do know that I have seen people do that before to put contacts into their eyes. I don't know how, but it's for it. That is what used to be done, where it's like, if you don't like the idea of touching your eye, or if you don't think you can do that, then you're going to do it this way. But it does not seem like that could possibly ever work. Contacts just don't fall into your eye. You have to put them in there.
Yeah. Funnily enough, that's why I've never explored contacts, because I don't want to put my fingers in my eye.
It's really not that difficult. I mean,
I don't like the idea.
I don't like just push it all the way in.
You just made it sound real dangerous. I don't like it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. There's also the funny line, like, Martin Blank is like, "Oh, so you want to be my father figure?" And he's like, "Oh, if you want a father, I'll give you a spanking."
Dan Aykroyd is so Dan Aykroyd-y. He's insane.
He is insane. And it's interesting to me that you say that, because this is the first time I recall seeing Dan Aykroyd like this, in this kind of role, where he's like, obviously he's Dan Aykroyd, right? He's over the top Dan Aykroyd, but he's an evil assassin. It's so against type. Like, he's the lovable Ghostbuster, right? Like,
right.
He's the father for my girl. Like, you would never think of Dan Aykroyd this way at all. It is kind of surprising he got cast for it,
right,
because of that. But go ahead.
No, I just think that, I mean, this was during a weird period in Dan Aykroyd's career too, right? Like, of course, most of the things that we remember him from are in the 80s.
Right.
And once you get into the 90s, he is taking different types of roles where he's not a lead anymore. He doesn't, I mean, he did some writing, but he was mostly just a supporting actor in a lot of things that were not the typical Dan Aykroyd role. Like you said, he was the dad in My Girl. He was the dad in, was it Loser? Was he Jason Biggs' dad in that?
Oh, I don't recall, but maybe.
I feel like he was, because I think they used his accent to give the Minnesota accent. But anyway, it was stuff like that where he was almost like a marquee kind of guy, where it's like, put him on the poster or put him in the credits and people will come see this movie and they'll get something else, Yeah,
I'm guessing a lot of that for Aykroyd was Nothing But Trouble, like, nearly ruined his career, right?
God damn, that's a terrible movie. Holy
I know you
shit.
hate it. And he has a dick for a nose, right?
Yes, he does have a dick for a nose.
He did do Coneheads, which also was kind of, I don't like that movie at all.
He made Sneakers. Come on.
But that
was earlier, wasn't it? Or was
yeah,
it later?
that was 91.
After Nothing But Trouble. Yeah.
But that he's still second banana in that, he's, and probably even lower than that, really, if you really want to get to it. But no, but I mean, like, I will say Coneheads does have a great soundtrack.
So does this movie.
It does. So yeah, let's talk about this movie, because it is funny how it's a very 90s movie with an extremely 80s soundtrack.
Well, it's 10 years.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point. I mean, it is.
Minnie Driver's 80s Weekend.
It is. I would listen to
all
it.
vinyl.
Yeah, that's right.
All vinyl 80s Weekend.
It's hard not to fall in love with Minnie Driver in this movie.
She's fantastic in this. And by the way, this movie also is the return of several people that we've talked about in little roles before. Minnie Driver was in Goldeneye for that one scene where she played.
It's still so perplexing to me, but yes.
She wanted to be in it, and
That's
she
funny.
didn't mind being Valentin Sukovsky's girlfriend. And do a very, very bad Stand By Your Man cover. Jenna Elfman, of course, was in Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah.
Alan Arkin, of course, was So I Married an Axe Murderer. And the one guy, the reason why I don't go to my high school reunions is because I don't want Benny the Jet Urquidez to kill me.
Yep.
So
Our fourth Benny the Jet movie.
is it really the fourth?
It is. It's the fourth one.
Well, I know Force 5. I mean, he's
Five.
fantastic in that.
Shit. What else? I'll come back to me on that.
Okay.
I can't remember what that Roadhouse.
Well,
was
we
in
also
there.
He was in Roadhouse, wasn't he?
And there was one other that we did. I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
Well, I was
Roadhouse
thinking
is the
Force
best
5.
movie we've ever covered on this.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that because GoldenEye was just mentioned. And that ranks real high on my James Bond list.
Yeah, but we haven't covered it on the show,
Yeah, we did.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I was.
Well, no, this was back before the Chuck days.
This is pre-Chuck.
Yeah.
PC. Yeah.
And then we got
Who
real
else, Jeff?
PC. Then we got real PC when you came along. Well, I will say that Mitchell Ryan is here also, who is Kyle Riker, who is Commander Riker's dad. But he, we've never talked about Halloween 6 either.
He's in
So
1408 also.
Benny the Jet is?
I don't know who he played, but he's in it. Yep.
Maybe he's best pals with.
I think he is. He's pals with Cusack.
That's amazing.
That's it.
That is amazing.
Maybe Benny the Jet was Lloyd Dobler's kickbox instructor.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yeah. One of these days we need to do more. We need to bring in Lloyd Dobler because we need to do more Cameron Crowe. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, to me, I said this to Chuck while I was watching this, that I feel like every role after Say Anything that John Cusack has had is like an extension of the character of Lloyd Dobler. It just is.
It's the multiverse.
Yeah, it's a multiverse of Lloyd Dobler. I always imagine.
It's the Doblerverse.
This is the movie if Lloyd Dobler had left his girlfriend and say anything, and instead of getting on the plane with her, went and became a contract killer.
Well, it's funny.
And High Fidelity is the story of Lloyd Dobler after they break up, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like perfect.
That's funny. Well, there are people, like a popular Google search is Grosse Pointe Blank a sequel to Say Anything?
That's funny. I mean, it plays thematically like one. It surely does. Yeah.
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 But yeah, let's get to Minnie Driver, because Martin Blank left her basically at the altar, right? But it was prom.
It was the prom altar. Yeah.
Prom night. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's still, as he tells Dr. Oatman, Alan Arkin's character, is still obsessed with her, right? And he has a dream about her like 5 nights a week. Or
yeah, she's the one that got away. That's a common. I feel like that's a very common Gen X thing. The one who got away.
Is she
because
really the one who got away? Because he left. She didn't really get away. I get what you're saying.
But that's how he's treating her.
Right.
He's treating her that way, even though truly he's the one who got away from her.
He's the what if. Yep.
Right.
Yes. You can't go home again, gentlemen. But you can
you
shop.
literally can't. You can shop
there.
That's true. All right.
So go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm terrible explaining the way that movies go, but
after the Berlin thing, what can you do, Chuck? You know.
Yeah, I don't get that actually. He has his the next thing he has to do is to go to Miami and kill another guy. And he does this in one of the coolest ways, or tries to do this in one of the coolest ways possible. He gets a hotel room above the guy. He drops a string thread through the vent over this guy's mouth, and he presses a syringe, and the liquid travels down. It's supposed to drop in his mouth, but the guy turns his head at the very last second, and drips on his face. Obviously, he knows immediately someone's trying to kill him, so he must be a bad dude too. And Martin Blank has to rush downstairs and shoot him with the silencer. And we get a recurring theme line throughout this whole entire movie, because the guy's like, whatever you're doing that I don't like, I can stop. And Blank is like, it's not me. And he just shoots him in the head.
That's also the poison down the string is also You Only Live Twice, bringing back the James Bond thing.
Figured it had to go to Bond.
That's the only reason why I stepped in. Is that what you're getting?
No, I just figured it's got to be anything that happens in any movie has been in a Bond movie before, right, Jed?
Probably.
Because there's 8,000 Bond films.
25.
25. That does seem like a small number for how often I remember Bond films being released.
Well,
still a lot, though.
Yeah, still a lot.
But this is important because this kill was supposed to look like a heart attack, right?
Yep.
So these people are angry at him, and they're just like, you're going to do this fucking job for us because of it. And
you owe us a free job, basically. Good customer service. He's like, all right, I guess that's fair.
But it happens to be in Detroit, which is his hometown. Where
what did she say? Joe Cusack said, I'm getting kind of a hinky feeling about this one because it's in his hometown, where his class reunion is going to be, which she has already told him about that she wants him to go to. Yeah.
Yes. It's like it's fate. It's serendipity, as we explore later with Lloyd Dobler. Junk.
Yeah. That's definitely another Lloyd Dobler movie.
But there's that funny joke there where she's dressed literally like Sergeant Pepper's, which is hilarious. I don't understand her costume.
Yeah, I said the same thing to Susan. I was like, what is she wearing? She looks like a band major.
Well, no, I wrote that Joan Cusack looks like Sergeant Pepper, and then he said he calls her Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Very funny. But she's Sergeant Pepper's, but she's elated because she's gotten him to go home, and she thinks he might go to his reunion. She thinks her whole deal with this thing is that he's been being like kind of weird lately. And she's worried about him.
He needs it. Yeah. It's like he's right. Something has clearly been bothering him for a while.
Yes. And he's apparently been seeing a shrink about it, Dr. Oatman.
But he's forced his way into. Alan Arkin is the perfect put upon guy.
He's a goddamn treasure is what he is.
I mean, because like he's not going to turn this guy away because he's scared of him. You told me that you kill people. That makes me afraid of you.
I like too, though, how he still doesn't. He doesn't really give him very good advice. It's like half-hearted, kind of like hack advice, just to like placate him to get him out of his office. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, he cuts.
Well, why don't you take any notes? Why aren't you taking?
Yeah.
He's like, you should go to your reunion. And Martin Blank's like, oh, what am I supposed to say? I killed the president of Paraguay with a fork. How have you been? But in order to get him to continue being his shrink, he's like, well, I know where you live, right? In a kind of half-hearted, joking manner. But Alan Arkin's like, that doesn't make me feel good. You shouldn't have said that.
You shouldn't have said that.
How's that supposed to make me feel?
Yeah. But then, it's there's so many great lines in this. Like when he's like, I'll give it a shot. And he's like, don't give it a shot. Don't shoot anybody.
Yeah. Just
try that out.
Yeah. Try that. Yeah. There is something like the one thing about this movie is that I admit that I was worried when I started it because it's like, do I have to be in a certain mood to watch a comedy about a contract killer? You know, it's like, am I in that mood when I pressed play, you know? But to be honest with you, it's like, this is such a pleasant movie.
Yeah.
It's a very nice movie. And probably a lot of it is that, I mean, I think all three of us can immediately connect to it as Gen Xers. You know, it's like, I think there's something there that we're kind of pulled to anyway, with the music, with the way that there is still this kind of, I don't know about the rest of you, but it's like as much as like I have fond memories of the 80s, the 90s were really my time, and it's like I sometimes look at movies or TV shows or things that happened in the 90s, and it's like, this could have only ever been the 90s, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because this movie looks like how I expect a movie from 1997 to look. I had that same feeling with Zero Effect.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is taking me back to that place in time.
Yeah, oddly, a lot of my favorite movies, and I was thinking about this while I was watching this, like that I can I guess favorite might not be the right word, but this is a favorite of mine. But a lot of the movies that I can go back and rewatch like countless times were from 95 to 2000.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I was a teenager growing up then, or like did my formative growing, but like I love a lot of those movies from that time period.
I mean,
whereas the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
I agree. I mean, I watched almost everything. It feels like that came out from 1995 to 2000 or something, right? I mean, everything. So I am totally with you. A lot of my favorite movies came out in that era too, because I was just discovering so many movies, and then I was starting to go back, right, and get into that catalog stuff that I'd missed growing up in the 80s and then before that in the 70s and 60s, and still, and that's kind of film discovery, right? That's the journey of enjoying movies. Is you got to start somewhere, right? And for me, it was definitely that second half of the 90s was where I concentrated my first real love of movies. Yeah,
I think that probably my journey probably began in the early 90s, like that same thing that you, but I mean, there is kind of we're a couple of years older than you two, but by the time we got to 95, I mean, Chuck and I were 18. We were adults at that point, so then it's like, well, now, I mean, even beginning in 94, it's like, I'm buying tickets to R-rated movies on my own. Yeah. I don't need my brothers. I don't need my mom anymore to write me the note that used to pass back then.
And to take it helped too that we all had jobs that lent to us seeing everything at that point in time.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, the day after I graduated, I started working at a video store, did that for almost 5 years, and then did another 5 years at a movie theater. I saw a lot of movies in 10 years time. And, and it was stuff like this that were, that would come along in the, like I said, probably as a screener, and I open up the box, I'm like, oh yeah, I like these two people. I want to watch, I want to watch this. And those
I was much less discerning then. Like I almost talk myself out of watching shit now.
Sure.
Back then I was like, it's on, I'll watch it. Right.
Right. And, and I think that, there's still that idea though, also that John Cusack and Minnie Driver aren't that much older than us. They're still, I mean, they're part of that same generation that we are. So it's like, we can identify with that where, when we're 18 years old or 20 years old at the time that this movie came out, it's like, shit, yeah, I'll watch a new John Cusack movie.
That's it.
They were
is they're age appropriate for these roles as well. I mean, Cusack's a little bit older. He's like 30, I think. But Minnie Driver's, I think,
is 27.
In this, 27, 28. So they're right there because not everybody at the reunion is. There's some people who's like, yeah, there's no fucking way you're 28, but they are, and it lends some credibility to it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and there's
they're
something
very about like John
too.
Cusack is just a person who I've kind of grown up with, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We go all the way back to like Stand By Me. He's just an actor I've grown up with, and kind of there's a fondness to his movies, a breeziness, a likability to him as an actor. That he always taps into, and he's like Chuck kind of made the comment. It's like, is he playing Lloyd Dobler, or is he just playing John Cusack? And it's like, yeah, it's a little bit of that too.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, like, you go from One Crazy Summer to Better Off Dead to of course Say Anything.
Yeah,
man, you can just you can just follow him the whole way through. Like,
yeah, he was always in those movies we could watch. He was only a few years ahead of us, so it almost seemed like our future all the time.
Or he was like he's kind of like a big brother in a way.
Yeah. He was Denny from Stand By Me. Yeah, exactly.
Yep, totally.
All right, so that was kind of, like by the time that he's driving to Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and it's like, this is just so pleasant. Like there's something nice about this movie, and that's when I was like, I am all the way in on that. Like whatever concerns I had when I was pressing play are long gone. Like, why didn't I do this earlier? That sort of feeling. So yeah, that's right. What kind of brought that up, because it's like I'm seeing that shot of him driving, like the overhead shot of him driving through this kind of small town in Michigan, which looks a lot like Indiana. It's like that. It looks a lot like what I would recognize. So yeah, that's when I was like, hey, you know what? I'm on board here now.
Yeah, it's the music helps. We've talked about
absolutely
some. Like it opens with I can see clearly now the rain is gone, and it just gives you a good feeling, like going into it, And then we get some Clash, and should be noted, Jason, I don't know if you want to talk about this more, but Joe Strummer does the music for this film.
Yeah, which is funny because there's very little actual score music in this movie. I thought so
too.
But it's there, and a few scenes, and yeah, it's done by Joe Strummer of the Clash. But yeah, most of the music in this movie is a compilation of songs, and it's a lot, like a shit ton of songs.
There's 3 albums worth of songs in this movie, and it's like you got some good Clash music in there. You've got it's also the second movie that we watched that has Echo and the Bunnymen.
Yeah.
Because we also did Donnie Darko.
Yep.
And it's always welcome to hear White Lines. That was playing at the reunion. It's like, man, this is great.
Yeah, that's a great song. I mean, yeah, there's just so many great songs in this.
Yeah.
Like, you could just go on and on about the music in this movie.
Everything is a mess, kind of, but it kind of makes me wish I went to my 10th year reunion watching this, even though it's all like ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
I wonder if I missed out on anything not going to mine.
This is this is in a way, this is kind of like the perfect. This is what people should think going back to their 10-year anniversary is. You see that person that you always had a crush on, and there's a chance now or something. It's like there's a fairy tale to it that's I know would not be accurate.
Reality. Yeah, no, it's not reality. Of course
no. But it's but there is something there that you kind of want to dream about a little bit.
Yeah. So when he's going home, obviously he wants to see Debbie. Played by Minnie Driver. She runs the radio station. Well, she is a DJ on the radio station. As we mentioned, she's doing an all 80s vinyl weekend leading up to their reunion. And Martin goes in there, and like Jason, this is as Lloyd Dobler as it gets, right? Like when he first goes in, goes into the radio station.
He just walks in.
Yeah. But he's also very Cusack. Like, he's so... I don't want to say manic, but he almost feels, I don't know how to describe it. Like nervous, confident.
There's a little bit of like a quiet confidence, but also tinged with neuroses, right? That you get the first sense of it, I think, when he's talking to Alan Arkin, and he's kind of like talking about, where's his life gone? What is he figured out? It's like Lloyd Dobler having a quarter life crisis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And doing it in the most Gen X way possible, having that, I mean, because like again, I mean, maybe it is John Cusack that kind of helps shape what you would like to think you are.
Yeah.
If you were a guy of a certain age during, if you're a Gen X guy, you would sure like to think that you are kind of the boyish good looks, kind of, you have a charm, but you're also vulnerable, And yet, that's not how any of us were. I
Right.
feel pretty confident that none of us were.
He can be awkward and himself and not make things more too uncomfortable. I mean,
Right.
he's very awkward in this movie, but also with kind of like I guess confidence too, right?
Well,
He's charmingly awkward.
He's charmingly
awkward
Yeah.
in personal situations, but when he's on the job, he's really good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love when he does walk in, they just immediately have like the most awkward kiss ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything just picked up right back again from 10 years ago, but it's so sloppy. It's like two teenagers.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing I really like about Minnie Driver.
There's like a stunted maturity here,
Yes.
right? For both of them. Yeah.
Yes.
They're both stuck in this
Right.
moment from 10 years ago. Yeah.
And they both tried to move on, but they're trapped in a way. And there is this thing that she does later when she accepts, he gives her an airplane ride, which is great.
It's hilarious.
Like little kids would. And then she agrees to go with him to the I know I'm jumping ahead, but this kind of plays into all of this. But when she agrees to go with him to the reunion as his date, and she's so giddy, it's just so, again, nice. It's so upbeat and pleasant. And it's like, oh look, it's like she got transported 10 years ago again. You know?
But she the weird thing is, and we'll I guess talk about this again later, she was laying in her bed listening to music, looking through a viewfinder before he even showed up.
Yeah.
So
she's
like,
got like a little bit of Arrested Development, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And
As I look around my room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're Minnie Driver. It's not quite as attractive.
Well, you know,
Almost.
these days I put on weight, so I'm Maxi Driver.
Oh.
Wow, I get it.
Oh, I'm so gross. Anyway. Continue on, Chuck.
Yeah, they have this awkward moment, like, you know, their initial instinct is just to kiss each other, right? That's what their base nature is telling them, that they still love each other, right? But then there's the other, like, scar tissue that's there for her, that she's like, no, you left me, you son of a bitch, where have you been? You know, and that, like, he gives his brief, stunted explanation of where she's been, and she's like, that's 10 years, right? And he doesn't want to be on air or whatever, and he walks out and is standing by his van.
Well, they're getting phone calls and people telling her not to, like, you know, like basically make him wear the $700 prom dress.
Right. But he walks out first, right?
Right.
And she's standing by the van, and she's like, well, there goes, you know, my first love, or my lost love, the one that got away. And he's just standing there kind of listening. And then he decides to go back in, and she's like, she offers free lunch to anyone who calls, the first 5 callers who call and tells her what she should do. And we had heard a scene briefly earlier where Grosser called these 2 feds and said, hey, I've got your fish. Like, he's going to kill someone in Detroit. My suggestion is you wait for him to do his deed, and then you kill him, right? So these guys, and it's Hank Azaria, and I forget what was the other guys, Todd Freeman.
Yeah, that guy looked really familiar to me. What else was he in?
You know what? I intended to look him up because I think we've seen him everywhere.
Yeah, I think he was a guy who probably was a character actor throughout the entire 90s.
Well, he was in The Dark Knight. He was in Grosse Pointe Blank.
Was he?
He was in Eraser, House Arrest, The End of Violence.
A ton of stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe.
But he looks so familiar. The moment he came on screen, I'm like, I should know who that guy is. And of course, this is during the period in which Hank Azaria was on everything and in everything.
Was The Simpsons around in 97?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. It's 30 years now, right? Not
32 or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I forever think The Simpsons has been on air for 20 years. That's like every year it's still been 20 years.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's fair because you probably stopped after around season 20 and it's like, this is not for me anymore.
Yeah, I think season 9 and 10 were the last two I watched like every
religiously
episode, but it got less and less and less over time, for sure. Because that is stunted. Talk about some stunted characters. Oh my God.
Gosh, Bart is still like a little 10-year-old.
Yeah, he's never grown up. What's up with that?
God, they never let Maggie talk. Anyway, yeah. No, yeah, but because Hank Azaria calls in. Yes, they get the two feds get invested in what's going on, which is fantastic too, because later on they show up for the reunion and they see John Cusack and Minnie Driver go in and the other guy is like, oh, her hair looks nice, to which I was like, it does look nice. It's like where everybody's invested in what's going on with these two.
Yeah, they're like, hey, he's using her.
Yeah.
But you're jumping way ahead. Jeff.
I know. I keep jumping ahead. But so it's around this time also that he has discovered that where his house once was is now like a Quickie Mart.
And I love this.
Oh my God. The berating that the poor bastard that works there is getting is fantastic.
But he's hearing Live and Let Live, right? Is this
Live and Let Die
or later? Or Live and Let Die, excuse me. He's hearing Live and Let Die like on his radio. And then when he walks into the Altamart, it's in Muzak.
It's the Muzak version of Live and Let Die. Yeah.
It's great. I love it. And
it's also the Guns N' Roses version of it too, which is not a bad cover. Not a bad cover.
No. But he's berating the poor kid that's worked there. It's like, how long have you worked there? Where do you live?
Just a couple of months.
Yeah. Where's your manager? Where's your manager live? It's like, I'm not telling you that.
The poor kid has one of the greatest lines of the movie later. The second time we see him.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Sure. But yeah, he finds out that it's like and then he goes and visits his mom, who is in like a nursing home. I don't know exactly what was wrong with her.
I think she's got Alzheimer's or dementia or something.
That's my guess. She's also on a lot of drugs for it, so she's very loopy.
Gotcha. Okay. Because because it didn't seem like she was like, being like, who are you, sonny boy, or whatever. It's not like that.
She's not coherent at all. Yeah.
No, and I think they even said that when his dad left her, she started drinking or something too, which probably only exacerbated everything.
Could be.
Well, it's interesting here because this is like your first real look. Maybe not your first.
That was Barbara Harris's last role, by the way.
But you get a lot of information about Martin Blank here, right? Like, he left town. He left his parents, too. They don't know where he's been. He doesn't know where his mother is. Like, he has to call Joan Cusack and say, I need my mom. Like, where you got to find her for me.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't know his house was gone. He didn't know his mom was in assisted living or wherever she, at least I don't think he does. But yeah, she's definitely loopy. She talks to his dad, who's dead, apparently. And we find out more. His dad was an alcoholic because after this scene, he goes to his dad's graves and pours a bottle of scotch or something.
I thought it was just like wine or something. He just dumps the bottle and walks off. It's like, fuck this guy. Yeah.
So he hated his father. 100%.
Yeah, it is funny because you do see little insights as to why he can be the assassin that he is. And he does explain why he gets to that point, or what it was that made him it was one of those kind of military intelligence sort of things. It's like, but it's only mildly important to the whole movie, which I think helps keep it nice and light. Because this guy's a killer, and technically kind of a bad dude because he's a killer and doesn't really have a whole lot of remorse about his job, at least for most of the time. But yeah, it still remains really, really light, and because they don't hinge everything on why he does what he does. It's just what he does.
Right, and he's now obviously has scruples because he's put, which I think he would do anyway, his killing kit, and his next mark that's in a red envelope into the aqueduct or whatever in his hotel, but he has not opened his next mark file yet.
Right.
And if he was still interested in killing or 100% dedicated to it, he'd already know who that was.
He would have probably already did the job, and then
he'd done the job. He'd at least have opened and been planning for it.
Right.
So he has this kind of scruples going on now where he's considering at least going legit, even though he hasn't said so.
Right.
You kind of can infer it from the way he's acting.
Well, and he's using reconnecting to Debbie as his kind of, do I want to go legit?
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's also noticed that the two cops are there, or the two feds are there.
Yeah.
And that he recognizes Benny the Jet as totally not like someone who would be there.
Right.
He's like, I know this weird guy's there. So he gets Joan Cusack to look into that. He's like, I need to know who else is in town.
Yeah.
But while that's going on, he decides to, I don't know where he's going next, but right after he sees Benny the Jet, he runs into Jeremy Piven.
Yeah.
Who is, I'm on the wrong freaking page now. I can't remember what is his name in this. Paul
it's a John Cusack movie, so Jeremy Piven has to be there. You know?
Yeah.
It's required.
And Jeremy Piven,
I don't know how many movies he's actually in of John Cusack's, but he's definitely in Say Anything.
He's also definitely in Grosse Pointe Blank.
Give me my keys. Give me my Firebird keys.
But they look like they'd be friends, right? It seems like natural that they're friends. And Jeremy Piven is playing
he's a real estate guy.
Real estate agent.
And he ended up... He was the guy who sold his house to the
the deal.
Mart. Yeah.
It's like, I tried to get a family in there, but Ultimart just made a better offer.
Yeah. but by now, already Lloyd Dobler is already adjusted to what the reality of the present is, which is my mom's in assisted living. She's not, she probably had no power over what was going to happen with the house, and the house is gone. You can't go home anymore, but you can shop there.
I love that line.
Yeah.
I like to how, yes, the friendship between Cusack and Piven it feels genuine, and they just drop right back in to it, right? It's almost like,
they go cruising.
Yeah, exactly. They're smoking a joint, and Piven is kind of going. He's like, I can't believe it's been 10 years, and that time has been acknowledged, but it doesn't matter. They're buddies, and he
does have the one moment.
He does get mad at him.
About it.
Yeah.
It's like, man, where were you? Yeah. Which is, in a way that is kind of nice, again, where it's like these people were genuine friends, and there was a genuine camaraderie to where the time doesn't make as much difference, but I wish I'd have known what the hell was going on with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
And to break up the next two scenes, you have Joan Cusack talking to a family member about soup, right? And then she's been so sweet. She's so nice. She's so docile, or whatever you want to call her. But then somebody else calls in the line about some missing product, and she just fucking puts them in their place. She means business. I don't care where it is. I want it here fucking now.
Yeah.
And then she goes back to the other line. It's just the soup. This is just the base of the soup.
Yeah, and it's around this time where Blank Martin goes back to the to the
Ultimart.
Ultimart. And Benny the Jet comes in and starts shooting up the place. Now, that poor kid from earlier, he doesn't know what's going on because he's blaring Ace of Spades.
Yep.
By Motorhead in his
playing
Walkman,
Doom 2.
and playing Doom 2. And so all of it is blending it. And so it's just a shootout where I don't even know if it's kind of funny in the sense where it's like they're just laying waste to this place, obviously missing each other, almost as if Benny the Jet was more sending a message than really trying to kill him at that point.
Oh, I think he was trying to distract him from the bomb and
the bomb that he leaves in the So he leaves a bomb in the microwave, and John Cusack sees it, and he grabs the kid, and they run out, and the place blows up. This is my favorite line. He says, he goes, "Hey kid, you all right?" And he's like, "I'm hurt. I'm pissed. I have to find a new job." And he just walks off.
Jumps off. It's so great. It's worth noting. It's worth noting here why Benny the Jet is there. He has not been sent by Grosser. He has actually been sent to kill Martin because Martin accidentally killed someone's dog.
Yes.
He was going to blow up a place, I think, so he put some explosives in a toilet or something to blow up the place, or he threw it, and the dog retrieved it and killed itself.
Right.
I think is the name of the dog.
What'd you say?
It's Boutro, I think is the name of the dog. Is that right?
Yes, Boutro. Yeah. Let's not talk about Boutro.
Because he has that's explained right in the cafe where they have breakfast, where Aykroyd and Cusack have breakfast, right?
Yeah, there's standoff.
The non-omelet.
Yeah.
What is it's alfalfa on my mind, and I left my heart in San Francisco. They're examples of the dishes you could order at this place.
Right. They were the specials.
It's so bad. Like they're the worst puns ever.
Right. But it's almost like it's like me walking into Bob's Burgers or something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both pointing guns at each other under the table. It's a funny scene.
Well, that's also where Dan Aykroyd says, "I'm going to put a bullet in your head and fuck the brain hole."
Yep.
Yeah. And that's where I agree with Chuck. Like that is a very un-Aykroyd thing to hear him say.
Yes.
Well, no, he said something very similar in Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah. It's actually kind of jarring when he says it. It feels almost out of tone with the movie, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
we're getting slightly ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Because after the Ultimart blows up, Martin calls Debbie again, and he's like, you know what? We need to talk. We haven't talked. Let's get together at this, whatever this bar is. I can't remember the name of it, and talk. And she starts pressing him on his last 10 years. And she's like, well, you must have had some experiences. And he's like, bad experiences. She's like, well, you must have met some people. And he's like, bad people.
And then Ann Cusack stumbles in drunk.
That is another Cusack.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah,
because we also had two Cusacks last month in The Fugitive. We have. And we've had a lot of Cusacks lately.
Interesting. They're everywhere. They're almost like the Penns and the. I don't remember who else has a big family of actors. The
Barrymores.
The Barrymores. Yep.
They have a big family. That's a huge family. Anyway. Yeah.
At this time, she shows up. She knocks over a drink, and Martin Blank is like, "Okay, well, I'll go get you your drink of choice." And he goes into the bathroom, and he sees the two feds there.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, hey guys." He's like, "Oh, hi," like he's in the room or something.
Right.
But he starts telling them about her. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know if she likes me. Should I do this? Should I do that?" And they're like, whatever. And then he explains to them where he'll be in a half an hour. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to hang out with her for a half an hour, and then I'll be back in the hotel. I'll catch up with you there." It's really funny because Aykroyd is in the bathroom, and he's like, he's in the stall. He's like, well, why didn't you kill him? And they're like, well, we're not murderers. We had to wait for him, blah, blah,
Catch
blah.
him doing something illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to catch him doing something illegal. And then Azaria is like, he's coming back. Aykroyd goes into the stall and he like looks and he shakes his head. He's like, he's not coming back.
Yeah, and they laugh, and then Aykroyd sits there for a beat, and he comes out. It's like, hey, fuck you guys.
That's really funny.
But
Yeah,
there
go
is,
ahead.
this is when because they leave each other, and then he kind of goes back to her place later.
Yeah.
And this is where he gives her the airplane ride.
Yeah.
Which is just like a little kid.
Because he asked her to go to the reunion with him.
Right.
And she said, I'll give you an answer if you give me a airplane ride. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just these two adults doing something that you do with children. It's great.
Yeah.
And then, then she's like, yeah, well, I'll go with you. Pick me up at 8 or at 7. Pick me up at 7.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, great. And, which is funny because she's moved back home because she had her apartment caught on fire, which is, again, it kind of plays up that whole idea that they're 18 years old all over again. But yeah, so like that's when she gets real giddy and jumps back on the bed, and it's so cute.
It is.
It is.
And then after that, what happens?
So yeah, Chuck, we're at the point where she's agreed now to go to he went back to her place after their date or after their.
Oh yeah. So he did you talk about how he called Joan Cusack and she was like, I'm worried about you. And she's like, you can choose, you don't have to die now. You can choose when. And he's like, nobody chooses when.
Yeah.
Right. So he's talked to her and he's like, he's kind of resigned to whatever happens there is going to happen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to breakfast.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. So he meets with Grosser at this point.
And Grosser shows up and Azaria's like, oh, he's brown bagging it because Grosser has
he's got his gun in it.
gun. And Martin sees him, comes in and he cocks the gun in his leg and pulls it out. And they have this really awkward, what do you call that? A Mexican standoff?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's basically a standoff. Yeah.
You could just call it a standoff. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a bad, poor way to say it now?
I don't know.
That was actually a joke in a movie recently where the character called it a Mexican standoff, and the Mexican character said something along the lines of, "You can just call it a standoff." I can't remember which movie that was in, but it cracked me up.
Okay, so they're having a standoff while ordering their breakfast. And Grosser's making fun of him about killing the pooch, making dog noises and whatever.
So let's not talk about Boudreaux.
Yeah, let's not talk about Boudreaux. And he brings up the union again. They have that same discussion. I'm never going to join it. Martin.
Well, because he thinks this is it. This is it for him. It's like, I'm out after this.
Yeah, he's telling him, I'm thinking about quitting anyways. And Grosser does not believe him. He's like, yeah, right. And then they compare their supplements, one of which is a drug that his doctor gives him, but it's better than Ritalin or something, he says. I can't remember. But then when the food gets there, Martin knocks like the omelet out of the lady's hands, causes a disruption, and backs out of there, ending the standoff.
Here's your non-omelet.
Yeah, here's your non-omelet.
Well, yeah, because he's like, yeah, I want just the egg whites, and she's like, okay, well, what kind of cheese in it? No cheese, nothing in it. He's like, well, that's not an omelet. It's like, well, it doesn't fucking matter what it is. Just give it to me the way I ordered it.
I'm not going to get into semantics with you. Just give me my omelet. I have to say, though, like every scene with Aykroyd and Cusack in this is like perfection.
It's so well. It's so whip smart. And
yeah, it's super snappy.
This is a really good script.
Yeah, it is.
There's no real fat in it. every line has something that it means. It's there's not just dialogue for people to talk. There's dialogue for people to reconnect. There's dialogue to rekindle romance. There's dialogue to show aggression. There's dialogue to reveal what Martin Blank is feeling. It's extremely tightly written.
Well, it's interesting that it's kind of one of those movies, reading about the making of it, that where improv worked, because usually it doesn't.
No, usually it goes on too long.
Yeah. And what they did was they shot 3 different versions of this movie all at once. They shot the script, then they shot one where they kind of toned it down a little bit, and then they shot one where he gave sort of the actors free rein to go over the top, and that's what they mostly used was stuff from that. And it works. It just works. It's still reined in. You know, I mean, to the degree I think where John Cusack was given a writer's credit on the screenplay, because there was so much that he brought to the role. Yeah.
There's also part of that story that you're telling with the script where it originally came in 150 pages, and the director was like, I won't do anything more than 100. And a lot of what was ad-libbed was kind of from the stuff they cut from the movie or the original script, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it is very whip smart. It is all important. There's like no wasted lines, like you were saying, Jeff. It's it all drives the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Which at this point too, we start to see Martin's wardrobe kind of lightening up. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the beginning of the movie, he's wearing all black, all the time, all black. Then when he goes to see, I always want to call her Minnie, Debbie at her place, he's wearing kind of a tannish jacket. The night he's supposed to go to the reunion, he's wearing a white shirt now. So there is kind of like a transformation taking place with him. I think that's supposed to be seen that way.
I think so.
At least I saw it that way.
Yeah.
Short of having him in all white at the end of the movie, it's a pretty cool kind of progression, right? But yeah, after the not an omelet scene is really, I think, where we get to the reunion part of the show. And he's agreed to pick her up by 7. He's not going to be late. She says showing up would be an improvement, which is hilarious. But he's having some kind of issue, so he wants to call Dr. Oatman again. And
he's going to tell him that. He also calls him up to tell him that he doesn't want to talk to him anymore.
He does that later.
And that's right.
After the reunion, he fires him, I think.
That's right. Yeah. Which is hilarious because he's in a session with somebody.
Who's freaking out while it's happening. But he's calling him to ask him. He's getting nervous. So he's like, well, just breathe. Say it's me breathing. He's like, wait, do you want me to say it or do you want me to think?
Yes, say you're breathing.
Yes. But he really just needs him to calm him down. And then it's funny because this is important too. He picks up his gun and is debating whether he's going to bring it. And he says, this is me breathing. And he realizes he doesn't need the gun, right? It's not a part of his outfit anymore, for lack of a better term. So he leaves it, which is semi a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but when you have a pencil or whatever, that's all you need.
Yeah. He could kill anyone with a fork or a pen or whatever. I love this reunion scene because it has all the characters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone.
And there's when Jeremy Piven is trying to remind, I think that's Jenna Elfman at that time, like who he was. And when he explains,
it's Jenny Slater. It's a different later.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different lady, but yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And he's like explaining to her. He's like, "Yeah, I wrote you that one paper," and she's like, "Oh, yeah, right," and then just walks off.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay. It's like
it's so funny because she is enamored with Martin. Like you get the impression that everyone liked him, but the one dude at the high school who wants to fight him later.
The guy
but Piven's like,
Walking Dead.
Go ahead,
guy.
Jason.
The Walking
Yeah.
Dead guy. Yeah.
Yes,
Michael
that is
Keaton.
him, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he's like, hey, Jenny Slater. Hey, Jenny Slater. He keeps like raising his voice. She wants nothing to do with him. But he does get her dancing with him later.
Yes, that's nice. Again,
yeah,
this is just so nice.
Yeah.
Such a,
I like it when Benny the Jet shows up and he looks at all the name tags on the
oh
table,
yeah,
and he says, "It is I, Sidney Feldman." Like, the name tag. That fucking kills me.
Yeah. It's I.
It is I, Sidney.
And the girl's like, well, you've changed a lot. Save a dance for me.
But before that, of course, this when he's looking at the baby, and he's realizing that it's like, yeah, he does have, he's not a, emotionless killer anymore, and there's something to life that he wants to embrace.
Yeah.
But also he's under pressure.
Yeah. Under pressure. There's 2 songs that mention pressure in this movie, and there's 2 songs that mention Rudy.
What's the
which
second
is weird.
Rudy?
It's Rudy Can't Fail, and then is Mirror in the Bathroom mention Rudy? One other song mentions Rudy. I can't remember. I should have written it down.
It could. Mirror in the bathroom.
I mean, maybe it was Ace of Spades. Maybe Rudy is the Ace of Spades.
Was it Sister Christian? Motorhead? What's your price for flight?
Motorhead. Kim Hammer, if you're listening, that's for you. But yeah, it is a really sweet
a message to you, Rudy, the specials.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of just a weird thing I picked up on while I was watching. But yeah, that is a really sweet scene with this girl who obviously he was good friends with. There's nothing. It's just nice, right? She has a baby.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. No, everything about this movie. There's no.
It is not it's not a mean-spirited movie in the least, and there are people dying. There's an assassin, but it's not mean-spirited.
With a pencil.
Yeah, but it's not mean-spirited at all. It's upbeat. It's it gives you a little bit of hope that you can reconnect with people, and in your old life.
Yeah, and this is the type of scene in a lot of other movies where there'd be sexual tension and jealousy when he's talking to this girl. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, a poorly written movie would have that, but this is not a poorly written movie at all.
Right. And that's great. And then they run into, well, it's either, I don't know what order it's in, but the Walking Dead guy who's like, hey, you want to do some blow? Yeah. He looks at Martin and he's like, hey, who are you? I'm drawing a blank.
He would be the guy that you would hope wouldn't show, but of course he's going to be the first guy there. It's like
he's going to be the guy that shows up drunk. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, he's Brad from Superman 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally is.
Or the guy that gives him the pen, he comes up all excited to see him, and Martin is like, you don't sneak up on a contract killer that quickly. He like grabs his arm and slams him in the table. He's like, oh, you slipped.
I love that. Yeah.
But that's where he gets the pen from this guy. I can't remember what maybe he's a car salesman or something.
That's Carlos Jacobs. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
He was also in Firefly.
Yeah, I think he was in a lot of Joss stuff. I think he shows up in Angel too. Yeah.
Oh, and one important thing, which I guess we can talk about, but when he picked up Debbie for the reunion, he went and talked to her father.
Yeah, Kyle Riker.
Yes, Kyle Riker, who also is in Liar Liar.
Who's also Dr. Wynn in Halloween 6.
Yeah, and I think he's like the first person that believed Martin that he's a contract killer, but he didn't really care.
He didn't really care.
No.
Good for you. It's a growing industry.
Yes.
That's not the only time that somebody says something like that to him either. Yeah. When he's telling the truth, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Because he tells Jeremy Piven that.
He also told her Debbie, like right in the beginning.
Right. Like, yeah, whatever.
He tells everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, let's just get this over with. You want a drink?
Yeah. He's like, I just came in to say hi. We're late. And they leave. But, so the next thing that happens is the consummation of the relationship, right? They sneak off. They go to the nurse's office.
They play doctor.
They play doctor.
I mean, that would fit with the airplane thing, right? I mean,
yeah, they're back to kids again, but they're going to have sex. So they do their thing and walk out. And Martin Blank's like, hey, I'm going to go check out the old locker. And right before he goes there, Walking Dead dude shows up. And he's like totally aggressive, like you'd expect this guy to be. But Minnie Driver or Debbie is watching, and she's like, he sweetly kind of lets this guy down, right? Or brings his level down to where he decides to read him a poetry.
Yeah, he pulls out this poetry he's written or something.
He's like, what's that? What's that? Some poetry? And he reads the first two lines. He's like, oh, that's great. Why don't you skip to the very end?
Well, there's a lot more.
Yeah. He's like, no, just skip to the end. This is great what you have so far. So then they hug it out. And she's officially in love with him now, right? Like she's been in love with him, but that he's about to break that everything that she thinks about him in like the next 60 seconds, because he goes to his locker, he opens it, he finds a 10-year-old joint, well, at least 10-year-old joint, which he disintegrates. And right at that moment, Benny the Jet comes out and tries to kill him.
Yeah, he knocks the gun out of his hand and starts. Imagine Kung Fu with fucking Benny the Jet. Benny and the Jets. Huh.
Yeah, I thought that Jason wrote Benny the Jet yesterday, and I thought he wrote Benny and the Jets, and I was like, that song isn't in that movie. And then I was like, oh, Benny the Jet.
Yeah. God, why did I never make that leap?
Put that together, really?
No.
Oh, that's funny.
Damn. All right. Anyway, but they and you think that they're going to start scrambling for the gun, but he ends up just stabbing him. It's in the throat, right? Like just
with
right
the
in jugular.
pen. With the pen he got from the guy whose arm he almost broke at the table.
Thanks for the pen.
Yeah, thanks for the pen. But Debbie comes around the corner all excited, and then she sees what's going on, and she immediately takes off. And Piven is running up the stairs at the same time. And what does he say, Jason? Where's our boy?
He sees Minnie Driver in distress, and he immediately says, "Where's our boy?" I love that. I love it, and that's so nice again. And it's like there's genuine concern, and you can tell that these are three people who were friends and are.
Well, they spent a lot of time together once upon a time.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just I love it. And he runs up the stairs and he sees Cusack with the dead body of Benny the Jet, and
is that his blood?
Yeah.
Is he dead?
and like a good friend would, he helps them dispose of the body.
Yeah,
so great.
Yeah, they throw him in the fucking
apparently
in the
it's
boiler.
an incinerator. Yeah.
Freddy Krueger's down there.
Yeah. They wrap him up in the school banner or something, and
and like the little Pep Squad banner. But now he thinks he's completely and totally, like his past has come back to haunt him now.
Yes.
Whereas before,
which is a very recent past, not a
right. Well, I mean, but like his past, this is a guy whose entire past has been haunting him in different ways. Mm-hmm. And now, as he's reconnecting to and basically exercising the one past that always haunted him, now he's being haunted by his recent past.
Right. And at this moment, because the entire time, like I mentioned earlier, he hadn't opened that packet, and he might have never opened it had this not happened, right? Like now he's like, okay, I've blown everything. I can only go back for now to what I do. But he's also instructed Joan Cusack to destroy their office because I think he's going to disappear. Yeah, she's throwing gasoline everywhere.
She's gleefully hammering the hard drive.
Yeah.
She doesn't really do
Smoking a
anything.
cigarette while dousing the place with gasoline.
Yep. And he calls her and says, hey, have you destroy? He doesn't say destroy the office, but that's basically what he asks her.
Are you closing up? Or
Yeah.
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, look under the desk. And then he's like farther under the desk, like leading her on, and she finds a big packet of money. She's
That's
like,
that's a big ass packet of money.
Yeah. And he's like, you deserve it. Profit sharing.
Yeah.
Another just nice thing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
She's taken care of now.
forever. And he's like, I'll find you later. And she's like, what? And he's like, not like that.
So good.
Well, yeah, because his thing always is like, if I show up at your door, you must have done something for me to be there.
Yes.
That's his motto, basically.
That, and it's not me. Like, I'm not the one acting this out. Because he even says that when Minnie sees him, he's like, it's not me. Like,
Right.
This was brought upon me, right? Like, I did not do this. But yeah, now he calls Dr. Oatman, and fires him, like you had said earlier, Jeff. And he decides, well, I guess I'll look in this packet. And who does he find is the canary that's saying,
The fucking Kyle Riker.
yeah, Kyle Riker is the mark. And I love this. This is another one of the cool things I like in movies that's not super overt, because he has the red envelope. They don't show the face, but they cut immediately to him running up the hill in a red shirt.
Right. He does react to it, which you know that it's him even before.
It's somebody he knows for sure.
Because he
Yes.
says, oh, it had to be you or something like that.
Yeah.
But
But it's just great that he's wearing the red shirt.
Yeah. The whole thing is leading him right back to Debbie. The whole thing was
Cannot be avoided.
right. And so, yeah. And that's his name in this is Bart, I think.
Bart Newberry.
Bart Newberry, that's it.
Yeah.
So but it totally like cuts to him,
Jogging up a hill.
Yeah, he's doing his morning constitutionals or whatever,
Mhm.
and he's and it's like at the end of the road, very obviously, it's Dan Aykroyd who's decided to do the job himself.
Yeah, because he told them, we're going to finish your job for you, and then we're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
And then, so he's like parked at the end of the road in a van with his goons, with I assume the whole assassin local
Concern?
Yeah, the
Assassin's concern.
right.
Yeah.
The local 307. Yeah.
Yeah, the local chapter.
Right. And so he and John Cusack comes up and gets in the way and says, "Get in the car, sir. We got to get you out of here." And that's when, the guy's like, "Oh, they're I said one little thing, and this is what it's come to." And it's like, well, I'm not going to be the guy who does it, but I'm going to be the guy who protects you, basically.
Yeah, he dumps the whole file. He's like, what have you done? Like, it's like 50 pages of info on him. So it's not just one little thing. But for whatever reason, Newberry has decided to come clean and blow in these people, and that's why he has to be killed. So he takes him into his house to where Minnie's like, or Debbie's like, what is he doing here? He's like, he's saving my life.
Yeah. And then, so now, like, basically everybody plus the two feds are starting to show up.
Yeah.
And Martin's got to start blowing people away.
Yeah, he hears someone through the door. He takes 2 shots and kills a guy on the steps, and he tells them, don't move, to which they start to go out the front door and see the body, and then
There's another guy coming.
In Aykroyd with his 2 guns again coming up the steps too, so they run back. But Martin's basically killing people around the house. He gets them upstairs and into a bathtub.
He gets a gun to work for her.
Yep, gets a gun to work for it, which she almost kills him twice with.
Well, she keeps pointing at it, and he just pushes it out of, like pushes it away from pointing at him.
Yeah,
at one point.
yeah.
It's like you just got to stay in here.
Yeah. But then you kind of assume it's just down to Martin and Grosser. They're having their little cat and mouse game in the house. But then both of the feds come through the door and they stand up together and blow them to hell. And the look on Aykroyd's face in this scene is so good. He's just smiling like crazy. Super, super happy to be doing this. And they kind of run out of guns and have a standoff. To which I can't remember what Grosser says. What are you going to throw this gun at? Or what are you going to throw the gun at me? And he's like, no. So they both kind of stand up at the same time. And Grosser just pops him on the head with the TV and yells, popcorn or blank.
Yeah.
Martin Blank, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Grosser says people are saying popcorn a lot in this scene.
Yeah, because early on, for some reason, it's an Aykroyd catchphrase. It's a Grosser catchphrase, because in the very first scene where they're together, he goes, bing, 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 popcorn.
Yeah.
So he says it back to him here. Yeah.
Well, and he says it at one point when he's when Blank is hiding Debbie and Bart in the bathroom upstairs. You hear him say it as they're kind of as the one guy's coming up the stairs that Blank has to kill. Somebody has said popcorn at that point too.
Yeah, I think it's his way of saying surprise, kind of. I think, which at the very end is definitely when Martin Blank says it. It's definitely like surprise. I mean,
yeah, take this TV in your head. Yeah,
yeah. And then he
could have said, "Welcome to prime time, bitch."
Welcome to prime time, bitch. But all the while, like this. All through the house, he's explaining everything to Debbie, and he goes back up there and he asks her to marry him. And then Riker's dad,
well, you got my blessing.
You got my blessing. Again, in any other movie, I'd maybe be annoyed that they end up together, but it just fits.
Yeah.
This film, right?
I mean, and they don't overdo it either.
No.
They just kind of walk off together, you know?
Yeah.
So you can pick up, where that relationship went with Lloyd Dobler and High Fidelity, if you like.
It probably ended up in 1408.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because his past comes to haunt him, literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
But this, as you said, this is just a nice movie. It does lightly examine what it's like to go home again. It's not ultra deep, but it's not shallow at all.
No, there's plenty of stuff to think about, and maybe it is meant to be a little bit more of that introspective type of deepness too, right? Like, like it gets you thinking about, your, where you came from, and the people you knew, and and it's it's like everybody at some point in their life thinks about the crushes they had, and where are those people at now, and what's going on with them, and and it's like this is the fantasy of what could be if you reconnected,
Mm-hmm. Of course. And it would have been a boring story if Martin Blank wasn't a killer. Like, that's what gives the movie it's not overly used, but the way it's used is to great effect because it drives the story in a non-boring way, right? If it was just a story about him going home again, it'd be like, I could do without this.
Yeah, it would be a melodrama at that point. But making him a killer gives this a little bit of comedic pizzazz to it.
Yeah, kick in the pants.
Yeah. A bullet in the butt.
Bullet in the butt. A bullet in the brain, and then you
fuck that brain hole. Yeah.
Fuck that brain hole. I don't know. I really like this. I like all the performances in it. Like Cusack, I don't know if I've ever disliked him in anything. Maybe I have, but he's just a guy
it's
I
hard
like.
to. Yeah, it's hard to dislike him. I mean,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I can't think of a role in which he played. Even if he played a bad guy, he's playing it well. Because I can't think of a time where it's like, Cusack, what are you doing? I hate this. You know.
Even when we watched 1408, which none of us were ultra stoked to be watching, it was like,
we were drawn in. We were drawn in.
Yeah.
And he was the one who had to draw us in.
Well, yeah, he's the only person in it.
For most of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a one-man show.
Yeah.
No, but it's, and even in that, he's not that likable of a guy.
No.
But you're there with him,
Yep.
Yeah. It's, it's not quite like, like some people play people that you don't want to like, but you still have to pay attention to them. But you don't want to like Alex from Clockwork Orange, but you're drawn in by him, and it's played so well that you do like it. And
right.
You don't want to like Hannibal Lecter, but goddamn, he's going to pull you in.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that movie very soon.
Well,
have
you know
either
what?
of you seen,
We should.
This pseudo sequel, More Ink?
No,
It's a pseudo sequel to this.
Yeah, it's not a direct sequel. It's not a real sequel, but it's kind of one of those fierce creatures kind of deals, right? Where it's similar characters, same actors, and a different story.
Oh no! Now I need to see that.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about it too. I don't know that it was very well received when it came out, but I'm curious enough now.
Well, yeah, three. Yeah, like you said, three of them. It's John, Joan, and Dan are all in it.
Yeah, and John Cusack plays a killer. Joan Cusack, I think, plays his assistant, right? So it's kind of got like some of the hallmarks, I guess, of Grosse Pointe Blank.
Well, now I need to watch that. You've convinced me.
But I don't know if it's any good, so I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's one. There are a couple of other notes that I have on this that I haven't, that I didn't realize I made notes on it. But one of the things I thought, and this again goes back to its niceness, but at the same time, one of the things I noted was that the movie could have been, it could have been really easy to make this movie too precious, but it's an adult movie. Like it is meant for people who want a little bit more edge to this story. And we kind of talked about that with like, Chuck, how you said, it's like you could have very easily rolled your eyes that they ended up together.
Right.
But the rest of the movie, this is really the only way it could have ended, because the rest of the movie is so smart and handles things very much in an adult manner that you accept it and you want it to happen at the end.
Right. Yeah, it's like there's so many. You could see so many places where they could have failed horribly. A lot of other movies would. Yeah. He dies at the end. She dies at the end. Like stupid shit like that. Or Piven gets killed by Benny when he's trying to get to Grove.
Right.
Like there's so many dumb things they could have done that they were like, no, we're just going to tell this kind of sweet love story with a murderer.
Right.
Like,
yeah. We're just going to keep it. We're going to keep it on the same tracks the whole way through.
We're not going to fuck with your emotional attachment to anybody.
Right.
We're just going to tell a cool story, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the other thing that I wrote was we skipped over John Cusack and Minnie Driver checking in to the to the reunion, and that whole dialogue with that very like that typical person who is also stuck in the past, but everything is rose colored to her.
Yeah.
And it's just that whole dialogue back and forth with like her talking about, being married and having 3 kids, and and John Cusack's reaction to all of that is just fucking great.
Oh yeah, because he says, "Oh, you even have pictures." Or she exclaims that she took the pictures out of the yearbook and put them on there so everyone could see how much you've grown. And he's like, "Oh, a special torture."
But he says it in such a way that it does not even affect her. Like it's like, yeah, isn't it great?
Yeah, it's enough for us to know he's dogging on her, and then
Right.
he doesn't.
Which is why you can see why, like, and you can even see this, like, this is these two characters, Minnie Drivers and John Cusack, they are 18 again at this point, and they are being a little sarcastic. They're being playful. They're being, and this is, you're seeing exactly how they would have been.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, literally nobody has grown up in that whole reunion. It's funny.
Yeah. But no,
good stuff.
This is a good movie. This is a very, very good movie. I appreciate it. It is definitely a Gen X movie. Did you watch it with your kids by chance?
We did, not this last time, but a few weeks ago, and they both liked it.
Cool.
Like we watched it just before it got thrown into the hat.
Oh,
so
is that why it was fresh on the brain to put?
Probably, yeah, probably, yeah.
Well, now you know what, you're ahead of schedule now, so you can come back to it next year.
Yep.
Or you can even wait until 2024.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll watch it next year, or at the very least, I'll catch it like mid movie sometime and just watch it because it's one of those. Yeah.
Next week's another one of yours, Chuck. Do you remember what it is?
No, why don't you go ahead and tell us, because I can't remember what's scheduled next. You said remember, like that should jog my memory. But should we take things backwards throughout and try to figure out what it is? Oh no, this is Jason's. If it's
I think I might have put this.
Oh no, okay, yeah, maybe this is. I thought it was yours, Chuck.
It could be a Chuck.
I haven't seen this one in a long time.
What is it?
It's Memento. Yeah. So we're going back to the we're going back to the Christopher Nolan. Well,
yeah, we are indeed. This is our third Nolan.
Yes. No, this is good stuff. It's been a long time since I've seen it too, but it's good. But it's good stuff. Yeah. Very, very. There's a gimmick to this movie that works exceptionally well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is going to make it really hard to talk about, probably.
Well,
maybe not.
Start at the end, and we talk about what's coming next week first, and then we go backwards.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so come hear us try to figure that out, how we're going to talk about this movie. But no, that should be good stuff. That's next Wednesday, filmseizure.com. You can follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's where you can find out when all the episodes drop. Also at filmseizure.com, we have Monster Mondays. Now, last week I already said what's going to be next Monday, but I'm going back to the folk horror well with the Doctor Who serial, The Demons, from 1971. Good stuff from my favorite era of Doctor Who, the third.
Can that
Doctor.
be watched online anywhere? I want to see that episode.
I can loan you my BritBox login.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, you can see it. I wish it was still in black and white as I first saw it, because in black and white it's almost more like a Hammer movie than it is a Doctor Who serial.
So there's an interesting thing I was reading about a lot of old British television like that. I watched a folk horror TV movie that was released on the BBC called Robin Redbreast, and I was reading about the movie, and I guess like in that era of television in British in England, it's hit or miss, like what survived.
Yep.
Because they would reuse a lot of the tapes.
Yep.
And it might have aired once or twice and never again, and it may not even exist. So
yeah, it wasn't
something
until,
like 70-some Doctor Who episodes that have been lost forever. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, episodes, yes, but serials, there are some pieces of serials that still exist. I actually have bootleg of all of the episodes because they still have the audio. The audio still exists. And what they did was they took production stills and pieced together the missing stuff.
I've heard that there's some fans too who've like recreated them and stuff.
Animated.
Wild.
Yeah, there's been animated stuff. But some of the ones that did survive were the color version was lost for decades. And the demons and some of the other Third Doctor stories were in black and white. And there are still a couple that are still in black and white because they never have tracked down the color. But it's always exciting when you hear, oh yeah, some guy who used to work for, some English station in the Middle East that imported Doctor Who still has this original serial, and they brought it, and he's given it back to the BBC so that they can clean it up and everything.
Entire runs of shows that are just gone.
Yep.
It's nuts, and nobody's looking for them because they don't have quite the popularity that a Doctor Who had. But yeah, they're just kind of lost to time.
Roger Corman probably has them.
Yeah, he's got them all in the basement. Anyway, but yeah, so the Demons, that is Monday. This Friday at my website, bmovieanima.com, it's a real treat too. That's Radical Jack, which is an action movie that stars Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh shit!
And Dee Dee Pfeiffer, and it is real stupid, but kind of in a fun way. It's stupid in a fun way.
Okay.
So anyway, you can go and read about that at my website, bmovieanima.com, this Friday morning. So we did it. I will try to leave myself clues to come back next week for our next movie. I don't know how because I don't have any Polaroids. But anyway, we'll figure it out. But until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I am Chuck Moore.
I am Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.